Neighbor Karen steals my package, but my door cam sends her to jail. This is the story of how my nosy neighbor's entitlement finally caught up with her, thanks to my security cameras and a whole lot of patience. It all started about 6 months ago when I moved into my new house. The neighborhood seemed perfect, quiet streets, well-maintained homes, and friendly neighbors. Well, mostly friendly. There was one exception, my next-door neighbor, who I'll call Karen, because really, what else could I call her? From day one, Karen appointed herself as the neighborhood watchdog. She'd peer through her curtains whenever I came or went, document every visitor to my house, and even complained about the color I painted my mailbox. It was the exact same shade of blue as before. I just gave it a fresh coat. At first, I tried to be understanding. Maybe she was just concerned about neighborhood safety? But things started getting weird when she began interrogating me about my Amazon deliveries. "I saw you got another package yesterday," she said one morning as I was leaving for work. "You sure do order a lot of stuff online." I shrugged. "Yeah, it's convenient. Plus, I'm still setting up the new house." She crossed her arms. "Well, it's not very environmentally conscious. All those delivery trucks coming through our neighborhood, and some of those drivers don't even wear proper uniforms." I just nodded and got in my car. I didn't feel like explaining to her that I work from home 3 days a week and actually prefer having things delivered rather than driving to stores. Besides, what business was it of hers? The first package disappeared about a week later. It was supposed to be a birthday gift for my wife, a limited edition vinyl record she'd been wanting. Amazon showed it was delivered at 2:14 p.m., but when I checked at 2:30, nothing was there. I figured it might have been misdelivered or stolen by a porch pirate, so I contacted Amazon for a replacement. They sent one no problem, but I decided it was time to invest in some security cameras. I ordered a video doorbell and 2 additional cameras to cover my front porch and driveway. The day after I installed them, Karen came stomping over. "Those cameras better not be pointing at my property," she demanded. "I know my rights. I don't consent to being recorded." I calmly explained that the cameras only covered my property and the public street, both completely legal. She huffed and puffed but couldn't really argue with that. A few days later, another package went missing. This time I was ready. I checked the camera footage, and there it was in crisp 4K. Karen, bold as brass, walking up to my porch at 2:45 p.m., picking up my package and carrying it to her house. The timestamp showed this was just 20 minutes after delivery. I was furious but decided to handle it professionally. I walked over and knocked on her door. "Hi, Karen. I noticed on my security camera that you picked up a package from my porch earlier. I'd like it back, please." Her face went through several interesting colors before settling on red. "I was just keeping it safe for you. Anyone could have stolen it sitting out there all day." "It was there for 20 minutes, Karen. Please return it." She disappeared inside and came back with my package. The tape had been carefully peeled back and resealed. She had opened it. "I had to make sure it wasn't anything dangerous," she said defensively. "You never know these days." I took my package and decided to file a police report. The officer who came out watched the footage and took notes, but said since she returned the package, they couldn't do much besides warn her. He did advise me to keep documenting everything. So that's exactly what I did. Over the next month, my cameras caught Karen stealing 4 more packages. Each time, she'd keep them for a few hours or days before returning them when confronted, always with some excuse about protecting the neighborhood or keeping them safe. I reported each incident. The police gave her warnings, but since she always returned the items, they said it was a civil matter. I was getting frustrated, but then Karen made a crucial mistake. I ordered a new laptop for work, a pretty expensive one. The delivery confirmation came through while I was on a Zoom call, but I couldn't step away right then. I figured 20 minutes wouldn't matter since I had it all on camera anyway. Sure enough, checking the footage later showed Karen doing her usual routine. But this time, when I went to confront her, she played dumb. "I haven't taken any packages," she insisted. "Your cameras must be mistaken. Maybe you should have them checked." I showed her the crystal clear footage on my phone. She slammed the door in my face. This time when I called the police, I had evidence of her stealing a package worth over $2,000 and refusing to return it. That bumped it up to felony theft. They took it much more seriously. The officers got a warrant to search her house. Not only did they find my laptop, but they discovered dozens of other packages and items she'd apparently stolen from various neighbors over the past year. She had a whole collection of other people's stuff just sitting in her spare bedroom. The police search was like watching a bizarre episode of Hoarders, except everything was stolen. They found packages from at least 15 different neighbors, some dating back months. There were unopened Amazon boxes, electronics still in their packaging, even birthday cards that had obviously been steamed open and resealed. "Ma'am, you need to come with us," one of the officers said to Karen. "This is a serious crime." Karen completely lost it. She started screaming about how she was protecting the neighborhood, that she was the victim here. "Those packages could have been bombs," she shrieked as they led her to the patrol car. "I was keeping everyone safe. You should be thanking me." I almost felt bad for her. Almost. But then I remembered all the times she'd lied to my face, all the gaslighting and manipulation. She'd stolen thousands of dollars worth of other people's property and acted like she was doing us a favor. The police spent hours photographing and cataloging everything they found. They asked me to send them all my security camera footage showing Karen's repeated thefts. They also went door to door in the neighborhood, asking if anyone else had experienced missing packages. That's when the real scope of Karen's theft ring came to light. Turns out she'd been doing this for over a year. Several neighbors had just assumed their packages were lost or misdelivered. Some had even moved away, never knowing what happened to their missing items. One elderly neighbor broke down crying when the police showed her a birthday present from her grandson that Karen had stolen 6 months ago. "I thought he'd forgotten about me," she said. "I was too embarrassed to ask him about it." The district attorney decided to charge Karen with multiple counts of mail theft and felony larceny. Since some of the stolen items were worth over $1,000 and she'd been doing this systematically over time, they could treat it as an organized crime operation. Karen's husband showed up while the police were still processing the scene. He looked shell-shocked. "I had no idea," he kept saying, shaking his head. "She told me she was getting good deals online. I never questioned where all this stuff came from." The next few weeks were a circus. Local news picked up the story. "Suburban package thief caught by doorbell camera" made headlines. Karen's face was all over the local media. Her adult children stopped speaking to her when they found out she'd even stolen Christmas presents meant for her own grandkids. The prosecutor offered her a plea deal: return everything she'd stolen, pay restitution to all the victims, and plead guilty to reduced charges. But Karen, being Karen, refused. She insisted she was innocent and demanded a trial. Her lawyer tried to argue that she had a compulsive helping disorder that made her feel responsible for protecting the neighborhood. The judge wasn't buying it. "Your Honor," the lawyer said, "my client genuinely believed she was providing a community service by securing packages that could have been stolen by real thieves. The prosecutor just played my security camera footage, showing Karen carefully checking for cameras, quickly snatching packages, and hurrying away." "Does this look like someone providing a community service?" she asked the court. "Or does it look like someone who knew exactly what they were doing?" The evidence was overwhelming. Besides my footage, they had proof she'd been selling some of the stolen items online. She'd even kept a detailed spreadsheet of what she took and how much she could get for each item, though she tried to claim this was just her inventory of items she was protecting. The trial lasted 3 days. End quote. The jury took less than 2 hours to find her guilty on all counts. At the sentencing hearing, Karen tried one last time to paint herself as the victim. She stood up in court wearing an expensive designer outfit, probably bought with money from selling stolen packages, and gave a tearful speech about how she was just trying to help and how the whole neighborhood was ungrateful. The judge let her finish, then laid into her. "Mrs. Thompson," he said sternly, "I've been on the bench for 20 years, and I have rarely seen such a complete lack of remorse or understanding of one's actions. You didn't just steal packages, you violated your neighbor's trust and privacy. You took gifts meant for children and grandchildren. You destroyed relationships and caused real emotional harm to people in your community. Karen started to interrupt, but the judge held up his hand. Furthermore, he continued, your methodical record-keeping shows this wasn't some misguided attempt to help. This was a calculated criminal enterprise. You kept spreadsheets. You resold items online. You deliberately targeted high-value packages. This was theft, pure and simple. The sentence came down: 18 months in state prison, 3 years probation after release, and full restitution to all victims. She also had to undergo psychological evaluation and counseling. Karen's perfectly made-up face crumpled as the bailiff led her away in handcuffs. Her husband didn't even stay to watch. He'd already filed for divorce after discovering she'd been stealing from their own children. The aftermath in the neighborhood was intense. People who'd defended Karen or given her the benefit of the doubt were horrified when they saw the full evidence. The local Facebook group blew up with neighbors comparing stories of missing packages from the past year. I always wondered what happened to that anniversary gift for my wife, one guy wrote. Karen told me she saw someone suspicious take it and even helped me file a police report. Turns out she was the suspicious person. The police ended up returning over $37,000 worth of stolen items to various neighbors. Some things couldn't be returned because Karen had already sold them online. She had to pay restitution for those items at full retail value. Her husband put their house up for sale immediately. He couldn't face the neighbors anymore. I actually felt kind of bad for him. He seemed genuinely blindsided by the whole thing. Before he moved out, he came over to apologize. I should have noticed something was wrong, he said, looking tired and defeated. She always had some excuse about where things came from, and I just didn't want to see it, I guess. I'm sorry for everything she put you through. The new neighbors who bought Karen's house are lovely people. They actually asked me to recommend a good security camera system when they moved, and turns out, Karen's case had made the local news as a warning about porch pirates. Karen served 14 months of her 18-month sentence before getting out on good behavior. Part of her probation conditions is that she can't live within 50 miles of her former neighborhood. Last I heard, she moved to Florida to live with her sister. She tried to appeal her conviction, claiming my security cameras violated her privacy rights. The appeals court shot that down in about 5 minutes. Turns out there's no expectation of privacy when you're stealing packages from someone's porch in broad daylight. The whole experience taught me a lot about standing up for yourself and not letting people gaslight you into doubting what you know is right. Those security cameras were the best investment I ever made, not just for catching a thief, but for protecting our whole community from someone who'd been taking advantage of everyone's trust for years. These days, package theft in our neighborhood is way down. Several neighbors installed their own security cameras after seeing how well mine worked. We've even started a neighborhood watch program, a real one, not Karen's version of watching everyone's packages disappear into her house. Sometimes when I get a delivery notification on my phone, I still check the camera feed right away out of habit. But now it just shows the delivery person dropping off packages that stay right where they're supposed to be on my porch, until I get home to bring them inside. The elderly neighbor whose grandson's present was stolen. She hosts weekly coffee meetings now where neighbors can catch up and look out for each other. We take turns picking up packages for people who are out of town or can't get home right away. That's what real community support looks like. Not Karen's twisted version of helping by helping herself to other people's property. I guess sometimes it takes someone like Karen to show us how a neighborhood shouldn't work, so we can build something better. Though I could have done without having my laptop stolen to learn that lesson. Date 6 months later, Karen tried to sue me, failed spectacularly. A lot has happened since my last post, and I thought you all might want to hear how this situation ended up. Turns out Karen wasn't quite done trying to make my life difficult, even from Florida. About 2 months ago, I got served with lawsuit papers. Karen was suing me for defamation, claiming my security camera footage had ruined her life, and that I had somehow set her up. She wanted $250,000 in damages for emotional distress and loss of reputation. I immediately called my lawyer, who actually laughed when I told him about the lawsuit. "This is what we call a slap suit," he explained. "She's just trying to harass you. Don't worry, we'll shut this down fast." He filed a motion to dismiss, pointing out that truth is an absolute defense against defamation. 2. We had video evidence proving everything. 3. She had already been convicted of the crimes in criminal court. 4. The statute of limitations for any civil claims had passed anyway. The judge agreed completely. Not only did he dismiss Karen's lawsuit, but he ordered her to pay all my legal fees under our state's anti-slap laws. That's another $15,000 she owes me now, on top of the restitution she's still paying from her criminal case. But here's where it gets even better. Remember how Karen had been selling stolen items online? Well, the FBI got involved because some of the sales crossed state lines. They tracked down several buyers and discovered Karen had been running this scam in her previous neighborhood too. She's now facing federal mail fraud charges. Her sister kicked her out of her house in Florida after Karen tried to start stealing packages there too. Apparently old habits die hard. She got caught on, guess what, a doorbell camera trying to swipe an Amazon delivery from her sister's next-door neighbor. I got a call from the federal prosecutor handling her new case. They wanted to use my security footage as evidence of her pattern of behavior. I happily agreed. The prosecutor told me Karen had been doing this for years, moving from neighborhood to neighborhood when people started getting suspicious. Her ex-husband reached out to thank me recently. Turns out my footage helped him get full custody of their grandkids. Karen had been telling everyone he was abusive and trying to turn the family against him. The video evidence of her systematic theft and lying helped prove she was the problem, not him. The restitution payments from Karen have been coming in regularly. The court garnishes them directly from her prison commissary account. I've been donating my share to a local charity that helps elderly people install security systems. Seems fitting somehow. Remember that elderly neighbor whose grandson's present was stolen? She organized a big neighborhood block party last weekend. Everyone brought food and drinks, and we set up tables right between where my house and Karen's used to be. Kind of symbolic, taking back the space she used to surveil everyone from. During the party, several neighbors told stories about confronting Karen over missing packages in the past, only to have her gaslight them into thinking they were being forgetful or paranoid. One guy had actually gone to therapy because she had him convinced he was losing his mind. He's doing much better now, and his therapist is using his case as an example of how security cameras can help validate people's experiences against gaslighting. The new family in Karen's old house has become good friends. They've got 2 kids who love to bake, and they always bring over cookies when they see a package on my porch. "We're protecting it for you," they joke, but with baked goods instead of theft. Our neighborhood watch program is going strong. We've got a text group where people can ask neighbors to grab packages if they're not home. It's what Karen claimed she was doing, except we actually return everything to its rightful owners. Last week, I got a letter from the judge who handled Karen's criminal case. He's using her case to teach law students about how security camera evidence can build a strong prosecution. He asked if I'd be willing to speak to his class about the importance of documenting everything when you're dealing with someone like Karen. I said yes, if my experience can help other people stand up to entitled package thieves, I'm all for it. The local police department even did a community safety presentation using Karen's case as an example. They showed how my camera setup helped catch not just a porch pirate, but exposed a whole criminal operation. Several officers told me they're now recommending similar security measures to other neighborhoods. So that's where things stand now. Karen's facing more prison time for the federal charges. Her reputation and relationships are destroyed by her own actions, not by my cameras. And our neighborhood is stronger and safer than ever. I still get the occasional angry email from Karen. Apparently they have email in prison, but I just forward them to her probation officer and get on with my life. Some people never learn, but at least she can't steal from anyone else for a good long while. The whole experience taught me that standing up to entitled people might be uncomfortable in the moment, but it's worth it in the long run. Not just for yourself, but for everyone else they might try to victimize. Sometimes all it takes is one person willing to say enough and back it up with evidence. My security cameras are still running strong, though these days they mostly just record delivery drivers doing their jobs and neighbors waving as they walk by. And you know what? That's exactly how it should be.